It's all going to zero against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever, Wally.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live, your number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, breaking news, culture, and manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Simply Bitcoin, the most watched daily Bitcoin live show on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Interesting news coming out. There's a Bloomberg article. The headline was, Bitcoin is trumping dollars for many inflation-wary Argentines. Now, it's really interesting because what tends to happen in the developing world, I've seen this over and over again, is that you have a large demand for tether, like stable coins, right? This is really the first time that I've seen a developing country that is going to benefit tremendously from switching to a sound money standard actually opt into Bitcoin rather than stable coins. Very, very interesting. How much does that have to do with the recent presidential election, the first time a libertarian candidate was elected in world history? I don't know. Maybe the two go hand in hand, but what I can tell you is that there's kind of like this global awakening happening, and it's kind of refreshing. Like it feels good. Like all these years in clown world, like we were just talking about the clown worldness of the pandemic a couple minutes before we went on air. It's really kind of refreshing to see this, and in a way, you could say, you can make a really good argument that the fight is halfway won. And the reason I say that is the famous quote, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. So if this article really is true, and if this is really the case, and a large percentage of the Argentine population is holding on to Bitcoin, they're gonna do what Bitcoiners do, right? Which is, small government, leave me the F alone. Hopefully a lot of them are taking self-custody. If not, we got to push that. So it's really exciting stuff, man. I'm really hopeful about this future, but we got to fight, and not fight in the traditional sense, in the kinetic sense, but we got to really get the message out there, Bitcoin or slavery. Anyways, in other news, also, we had the Coinbase CEO, Brian Armstrong. He was being interviewed on Bloomberg TV, and, he's pretty crazy. Coinbase basically accounts for 90% of the custody of the Bitcoin for the ETFs. That's a large amount, and that's just I hear, my brain just can't help to think, 6102, and we have a very special guest to talk about that today, who has a 6102 order in his background. Of course, I'm talking about the founder and CEO of Bitcoin, Adam O'Brien. What's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, exactly.
Yo, 6102 vibes, man. I was literally in Vancouver talking to a group of incredible Bitcoiners, and this exact topic came up. It was like, Coinbase has too many Bitcoins, and that has theft written all over it.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time. Like, I can't believe not enough people are, kind of waking up to that reality. They're yeah.
Even the micro strategies, like, I think what he's doing is awesome, but like, those aren't sitting in a cold card, man. Those aren't sitting in a passport, like in a fireproof safe with backups on a seed plate. Like, that's just sitting in Brian Custody's treasure chest. Hopefully not like actually sitting in the crypto casino of Binance. Like, we don't know. They don't publish proofs of reserves. Like, we got no clue.
How funny would it be if, Brian just had a hardware wallet with the labels of like Coinbase, MicroStrategies,
like this one's for, Wisdom Tree ETF. This one's for like, they're just all in this, like his desk side drawer. No, his bedside table.
His night table. It just like has him there.
He's got like how to scam 101 for dummies, and then like a bunch of hardware wallets sitting on top of it.
Dude, I'm just telling you, it's like, yeah, here at Coinbase, we offer a sophisticated level of cold storage, and he's just like laughing his ass off, like, yeah, you can send the funds, and he's just using like Sparrow and like.
Look at this. Will Coinbase be Mt. Gox 2.0? No, it won't. It'll be Mt. Gox like 6.0, because we've passed 2 and 3 and 4 and 5.0 already. It's like, oh man, so bad.
It's so bad.
Keep your coins, yourself, folks. You don't have enough Bitcoin. You simultaneously have too much Bitcoin for it to not be important. Therefore, it is important. And you don't have enough that you should feel scared to hold it yourself. Like, I can kind of see sailors, like, whatever. But like, I think Bukele taking, like, who's the Giga Chad here? That's like, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I mean, dude, total absolute Giga Chad. I think I saw his beard grow a little bit. Yeah. I think I've seen their beard grow, because I know, like, by the time after they're in it for a couple cycles, it's inevitable that their beards get thicker and longer. So I mean,
look at us, like, we, couple of bearded beauties, we're hitting in a couple cycles here where this is the way.
I couldn't grow facial hair when I first got into Bitcoin.
It's like the weirdest thing. I bought Bitcoin and then I could grow a beard.
It's so strange. You don't change Bitcoin. Bitcoin changes you, literally. Yep. I want to welcome my optimistic co-host.
Hold on. I'm sensing a lot of beardism here, because your boy can't grow facial hair. So
I don't know, man. You got it.
I don't know what's going on here.
You got it, bro.
This seems a little anti-beard here. A little too pro-beard here.
You're the Johnny Depp of Bitcoin, bro.
Hey, I can only hope. But you also, I got another point of contention. You guys are giving Brian Armstrong way too much credit. We all know he just has one hardware wallet, if that, and all the coin is in one pool, and he just does whatever he wants with it. And it's not separated by companies or holders. It's just like one bag. Hey, here, take some coins. Do what you want with it. We're rehypothecating. Who really cares? No one answers.
He's like, oh no, my UTXOs are out of whack. I got a UTXO managed. Let's just put them all into one address.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, we got a comment in the chat. Opti's SB themed tidy whities for bull market says, is Opti not stacking at all, or just?
Yeah, I'm LARPing, dude. I can't grow facial hair, so I'm LARPing out here.
Won't let him. She took control of the bank accounts, and that's it. He can't move to Bitcoin anymore. It's a fiat only.
Man.
If I could grow a beard, guys, I would have a beard. But like, is it early enough? Yeah, we're past the 2 minutes. I don't like growing pubes on my face. I try to keep it nice and clean.
All right, fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an amazing show. We have a ton to uncover and ton to unpack. But before we get to it, I want to give a very special shout out to our flagship sponsor. And of course, I'm talking about Bitcoin Well. Guys, the best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack is Bitcoin Well. It's a publicly traded company coming out of Canada that recently expanded to all 50 US states. And that's right, you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody. Help us make self-custody the standard in the United States of America. And that's exactly why you got Bitcoin Well today. And on today's episode, also, we have a little update for you guys on the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest. Guys, go check it out. If you enter into the jackpot contest right now, you have an opportunity to win 69% of almost 3 million sats, and not to mention all the prizes that we have given away over the last couple of weeks. So we've given away a passport, the Seb Bunny book. Last week, every single weekday, we gave away seed plates. We're gonna announce the winners on today's episode, and over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna have some more giveaways as well. So guys, check out bitcoinwell.com, best place to build your automatic self-custody stack. And if you want to join the contest, go to bitcoinwell.com/contest for more details. All right, everybody, let's jump into the numbers. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. There is 759 of you watching live, plus our Rumble audience for some reason has not been added to Restream yet, so plus 50. And if you guys are enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button. If you guys are watching us on Rumble, that little grayed thumb up, you can click it and it'll become a green thumb up. And of course, little heart on Twitter. It really helps with the algos. Smash the like button if you guys are enjoying the show. And I made it incredibly easy for you guys, and Opti pulled it down. Thank you, Optimus Fields.
Sorry, I thought we were going back. I thought we were past that.
Scan the QR code and it'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website, where you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $62,130. So you guys should stop the episode right now, take advantage of the dip, and buy the dip. Anyways, or have fun staying poor. Also, sats per dollar, 1,608. Block height, 835,550. Blocks to halving, 4,450. Halving estimate, April 19, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity, 4,406. Bitcoin capacity value, 274 million. Realized monetary inflation, 1.74%. Market capitalization is 1.22 trillion US dollars. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 8.84%. Bitcoin is just getting started. Anyways, I totally did not plan this. It just happened to come up on my feed, and we have the perfect guest to kind of offer like a little rebuke, right? Because Adam is the CEO of a Bitcoin on-ramp, a Bitcoin exchange, and Bitcoin only exchange, better said. And, I want to get your thoughts on this, Adam, because this is very interesting coming from the Lex Luthor of Bitcoin or crypto or whatever. Anyways, let's check out what Brian Armstrong has to say. And also, you could see in the background, this is the night table that we were talking about. This desk is where all the coins are.
You're talking so much about other use cases for crypto outside of even just being a store of value here, as many people see it as they're entering this asset class, some for the first time with the advent of these spot Bitcoin ETFs. It begs the question, how do you see the future of Coinbase? There are a lot of questions about the future of crypto exchanges in the world where Bitcoin ETFs have gotten so much share. Do you see Coinbase going far and above beyond being simply a crypto exchange?
Yeah, so with the the ETFs that got approved, we've seen a huge influx of capital into the system. About $12 billion of inflow have happened. And when that happens, sometimes people ask us, well, what does that mean for Coinbase? Well, it's actually incredibly positive for Coinbase. We're the custodian for about 90% of the assets in those Bitcoin ETFs. And so we have monetization opportunities there as a custodian. But it didn't cannibalize any of the opportunity in our direct products too, our retail app, our institutional product. We actually saw increased inflows there while we saw $12 billion of inflow into the ETFs. So the ETFs were incredibly positive for the industry. They were a regulatory approval. They unlocked new pools of capital. And Coinbase is going to be not just a place where you store crypto. It's a place where you can actually trade crypto. You can use it increasingly in many different applications all over the world. And it's not just Bitcoin either. We support over 100 different crypto assets. So we want Coinbase to be the most trusted and easiest to use place to store crypto, to trade it, and to actually use it. And we can actually become people's primary financial account in some cases in this new crypto economy.
Kind of like a crypto bank?
Yeah, one might say that. I don't think we're ever going to go get actually a bank license, because banks get licenses to do fractional reserve of the assets. I don't really think that's the right path. I think it's caused all kinds of issues with bank failures and that kind of thing. We don't want to do fractional reserve. We want to store 100% of customers' assets, or if they prefer, they don't even have to store it with us. They can do self-custody. And if they choose to opt in their funds into some product to earn rewards or something like that, they can choose to do that. We're not going to do it on their behalf in the way that banks do with fractional reserve. So it's a new paradigm. I think that there's a new generation of people who are looking at, they want to see crypto update the financial system, because 87% of Americans, when you survey them, they say the current financial system doesn't work for them. Fractional reserve is just one piece of that. But if you look at credit card fees and overdraft fees, and why does it take 2 or 3 business days to send an ACH transfer? And so our financial system really needs to get updated, and that's what we think is that crypto is this most important technology to update the financial system globally, bring economic freedom and good financial infrastructure to people all over the world if they just have a smartphone with an internet connection.
All right, you're talking a couple things here, right? So which is the whole Bitcoin, not crypto thing. And in the very beginning, she asked him what does this mean for the future of Bitcoin? I mean, what does this mean for the future of Coinbase? When I was thinking, I was like, the right question should be, what does this mean for, Bitcoin and the world future, right? I think as Bitcoiners, I think that that the way that we see it, maybe I'm wrong here, maybe I'm speaking for myself, is that Bitcoin is bigger than any one individual, this movement, this technology, and I think that's what's going to fundamentally change the world. Looking at it from a company standpoint? How is Coinbase going to change the world? I don't think it's going to. And again, one thing is what they say, but another thing is what they do. It was recently announced a couple weeks ago, and it made quite a bit of a splash on Twitter, that Coinbase stopped accepting Bitcoin for a lot of their merchants, right? So, I mean, it talks a big talk, but, you know, when it comes down to it, I think it's a different story. And it's really interesting that we got to see the famous, night table behind him where he stores everyone's Bitcoin, which is kind of funny. I didn't think he was going to show it on that clip. But Adam, what's your take on, that 2-3 minute clip on Brian Armstrong? What are some things that you noticed? What are some things that you didn't notice? And then also another thing I got to say is, I'm a bigger fan of your black shirt than Brian's black shirt.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Brian is looking good. He's obviously spending some time in the gym. Man, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth there, isn't he? He's kind of saying, we have lots of new inflows in Coinbase custody, which opens up monetization opportunities, and then saying, but we're never going to be fractional. It's like, what is the monetization opportunity like, other than them just paying you a fee, which is fine. But it's very, very difficult, I think, for anybody in their right mind to think it's a good idea to give their money to somebody else, to give their value that they earn with their time, that they spent their time. They could have been spending, with their family. They could have been spending doing any number of activities, but instead they spent that time providing value for someone else. They then receive that value in the form of money, and they just hand it over to someone talking on, well, I don't know what that news channel was, CNBC or whatever, rather than holding that themselves. And then he said, we're not going to be a bank because we're not going to do fractional reserve unless they opt in, which is incredibly bad. So now we've got the opportunity, we've got the FOMO, we've got the scam promotion. This is the reason we need more automatic self-custody platforms, because there should never be an opt-in to get rid of your value. We don't have vending machines where you can opt in to heroin because we know heroin is bad. We don't have vending machines where you can opt in to murder because we know murder is bad. Why do we have platforms where you can opt in to literally giving up the value you produce with your time and throwing it into some bucket for like 8% APY? Like, dog, your Bitcoin is better than 8% APY. I don't care if it's 100%, 200, 500, 800, 1000% APY. The risk is not worth it because the opportunity cost is so great. And you getting rid of your value in that way for this fiat mindset, this is the problem with crypto, and this is why it's Bitcoin and not crypto. So I think this is spot on for Coinbase. Coinbase is obviously a crypto company. They are not a Bitcoin company. I mean, you just said it. They took away the ability for merchants to take Bitcoin. But if you ask them, they will say they allow their merchants to accept Bitcoin. They're like, oh, Bitcoin hard, on-chain fees bad. We need to make it fake. That's fractional, guys. That's how it works. That's how it starts. That's how the 6102 starts. We pretend like Bitcoin isn't working. We pretend like there aren't opportunities to just invest and grow and build down the pipe. And then we take everyone's Bitcoin. We make them use fake Bitcoin. Like, does this sound familiar? Does this sound like the fiat currency? Does this sound like taking everyone's gold and then removing money from the relationship with gold and then just printing and printing and printing trillions of dollars? Like, guys, we have seen this movie before. We have seen this script, and it's right here. Like, come on, let's be better.
Amen. Let's be better. I completely agree. And you guys, and I saw Thomas, shame on you, man. You should be using Bitcoin well by now. He says Coinbase stopped working yesterday. I had to wait 11 hours for my Bitcoin to get sent through the blockchain.
Yo, that's like, I think that's down to 33 seconds at bitcoinwell.com now. So you hit buy, and then we've got a bunch of scrambly numbers, and it says preparing your TXID, and then like within 33 seconds, that money is on the blockchain, real Bitcoin, like not wrapped Bitcoin, not like Bitcoin you can only spend inside the Coinbase ecosystem, like real Bitcoin that you can just spend anywhere on the blockchain. 33 seconds.
I got an idea for you, Adam. What if you came up with bitcoinwell.com/drop Coinbase and special giveaway potentially, maybe. Just thinking out loud.
Good.
Just thinking out loud. Anyways, I did see another comment and from Lightning Goats. Lightning Goat says, "Never trust a guy without a beard with your corn." I completely agree. I would be extremely skeptical of Opti also.
Well, hey, I've been telling you guys for a while, never trust me with your corn at all, but I will take all of your corn. All of your Bitcoin is mine. Give me 1 Bitcoin, I'll give you 2. You already know the deal.
No fractional.
Yeah, no fractional.
Oh man. Okay, so it seems like the chat is not a big fan. Oh, we got our boy Stamp Seed in the chat. Brian Armstrong stored the seed words in notes.
No,
that is absolutely hilarious.
On the cloud.
Yeah, those seeds in his night drawer. Those are on paper. They're not on titanium. Only Bitcoiners store their seed on titanium. But that's obvious, right? That's obvious.
He's like, metal's bad for the environment. I wouldn't want to waste good metal. That's just bad for our. What's the scam du jour? It's no longer the ozone layer. I'm sure there's other things that
climate change now.
Right. That's bad for the weather. This is not good. How dare these Bitcoiners take up metal to protect their generational value?
Oh man, UTXO says Opti is going to run for president, win at 612 all Bitcoin.
All your Bitcoin is mine.
Our boy says you could hide the corn in your beard. It's true, man. One of my beard hairs are fake, and it's a little rolled up micro print seed words in there.
That's the best OPSEC in the world. now, but see what Nico just did there is now if you see Nico's beard hair on eBay, you should definitely bid on it.
Gross. That's gross.
Man. Oh man. Opti, what's your take on the Lex Luthor of crypto of shitcoins?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first part of him saying like, oh, Coinbase never wants to be a bank, like they're already kind of a de facto bank as far as like the crypto eco space. And of course, they are quote unquote custodying all of the ETF Bitcoin. And then he kind of goes into, like Adam was saying, the idea of like, oh, we don't want to fractional reserve your Bitcoin unless you opt into it. So it's very interesting that he's saying like, oh, yeah, we don't want to fractional reserve your Bitcoin. But then again, maybe you might want to fractional reserve your Bitcoin. And, shouts out to Lightning Goats. He's been putting in the chat some good signal. He's like, friends don't let friends use Coinbase. Coinbase is, for better or worse, basically, they have the mind share of the newbies coming into Bitcoin. And this is why I think this cycle is going to be different, is because there's a lot of awesome Bitcoin only companies now. There's a lot of Bitcoin only media out there. And hopefully we can get people to go to like Bitcoin Well and avoid Coinbase and avoid getting psyoped into the shitcoinery out there. And so like, the fact that Brian Armstrong can't even say Bitcoin over crypto, it's very interesting. It's a long track record of him not being able to say Bitcoin and always saying crypto, except for when it comes to like Bitcoin being bad. Whenever there's a bad take on Bitcoin or the crypto ecosystem at large, he always says Bitcoin. But when he's talking about the ecosystem in a positive light, he will always say crypto. And I know, on a normie level, I understand people can confuse Bitcoin and crypto. Obviously, it's Bitcoin, not crypto. But I mean, Brian Armstrong's been in the game for so long. And, what do we always say on the show? Show me the incentive and I'll show you the behavior. And obviously he's incentivized to keep pushing crypto out there to the masses because his whole business model has been built on shitcoins. And so, I mean, it's very interesting that he said one thing and then he might possibly be doing the complete opposite on the back end. None of us really know what Brian Armstrong's doing back there.
I just told you what he was doing, bro. He's putting it all on a night table on paper, bro. On recycled paper, man. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Only organic paper.
Only organic paper.
That's obviously what he's doing.
Hey,
anyways,
just real quick on your note there. I just quickly DM'd the team when I was off. If you sign up for Bitcoin Well with the ref code drop Coinbase, it's not ready yet. Give it. I'll update. Then we'll add 500 points to that account. You can go enter the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest, and let's rip it. And then just DM me on Twitter if you already have an account. Then you deserve points, and so we'll also just like DM me, drop Coinbase, or follow me and quote tweet me, whatever, and we'll figure that out.
Sweet. Opti, could you put Adam's name handle on screen? And yeah, boys,
Don't do it yet. Though. Don't sign up yet. It's not ready yet. It'll be ready soon.
Self-custody by default.
Let's go.
Only at bitcoinwell.com. All right, everybody. We want to give a shout out to our merch. We teamed up with a Bitcoin artist named Opti.
Asanoa.
Thank you. And we got different merch. We got the Peaceful Bitcoin Revolution gold tee. We got the gold pill shirt. We got the gold Bitcoin snapback. We got the gold Bitcoin dad hat. We got the woman's Peaceful Revolution tank, and we got the woman's Bitcoin pill tank. So get yours while supplies last. It is flying off the shelves. We appreciate you all for supporting the show. All right, everybody, let's get to news. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out. Here we go.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get yourself what Brian Armstrong is using for cold storage for all the ETFs. Get yourself a Passport by Foundation Devices hardware wallet. Get on that cold storage standard. Oh, man. Just kidding. It's a bad joke. I'm a dad now, so I have the bad dad jokes. Anyways, scan the QR code, and it'll take you directly to Foundation Devices website. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, quick ETF update. You guys know the deal. We update you guys on the ETFs every single day. Specifically, the battle between MicroStrategy in the ETFs. Grayscale, holy cow, continues to gobble up all the corn. 238,000 Bitcoin, and Fidelity at 135. And MicroStrategy with 214,000 Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, you know, these ETFs, these public companies, and I'm sure more public companies are going to be joining MicroStrategy very, very soon. You know, continue to gobble up all the corn. But I just got to remind everyone, right? You guys, if you stacked Bitcoin before January 9th, 2024, you front run Wall Street. So good for you. Pat yourself on the back, but keep your head in the game, right? There's no such thing as having too much Bitcoin. That is literally impossible. Anyways, I do want to cover today's article because I think it would make a great conversation. And for audio listeners, the name of the article is Bitcoin is trumping dollars for many inflation-wary Argentines. It's an article by Ignacio Dole. It's a Bloomberg article. Goes on to say Argentines are buying Bitcoin to protect themselves from 276% inflation instead of rushing to exchange pesos for dollars, upending a timeless strategy that's made the crisis-prone country one of the top places for greenbacks in the world. Bitcoin purchases in Argentina, one of the nations with the highest level of cryptocurrency adoption globally, approached their highest weekly value in 20 months at a local cryptocurrency exchange. Lemon, the most popular among retail customers in the South American country. Now, how much does that have to do with the Elon Musk and Don Lemon interview? I don't know. Maybe they are related, but that is surely a huge coincidence. Anyways, goes on to say Argentines are looking for ways to survive a recession and one of the world's highest inflation rates as President Javier Milei implements his shock therapy policies intend to reset the economy. Exchange pesos for dollars, the main safe haven for decades, has lost some of its appeal in the past 2 months as the commonly used parallel exchange rate has strengthened 10% against the dollar, while Bitcoin has rallied almost 60% against the greenback over the same period. Lemon recorded almost 35,000 customer transactions to buy Bitcoin in the week ending March 10th, doubled the weekly average last year. The behavior was similar to that of customers of other major exchanges in Argentina, such as Repo and Bello. A major driver behind the strong peso in recent weeks is Milei's tight grip of the amount of money in circulation, not letting it grow while the central bank rebuilds its stockpile of cash dollars. Volume in Bitcoin and shitcoin have increased tenfold so far in 2024 compared to the same period last year at digital wallet Bello, CEO Manuel Bertuat said in a phone interview. He noted that purchases, stablecoins, crypto assets often tied to currencies like the US dollar have fallen to 60 from 70% over that period as Bitcoin's rally lured in more buyers. I love number go up technology. It's such a great technology. It is like, it just convinces people, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter how hard buttoned you are, eventually everyone bows down to the king. It seems like this is no different. Anyways, it goes on to say, quote, the users decide to buy Bitcoin when they see the news that the currency is going up, while stablecoin is more pragmatic and many times used for transactional purposes as a vehicle to make payments abroad. I mean, and like, that's such a, like, you know, that's such a, like, that's an education problem. Like, that's an education problem. Like, I don't know about you guys, but using Bitcoin for transactions globally is 100 times easier than anything else. Like full stop. And then also a couple things about stablecoins before I finish the article is that stablecoins give you a false sense of financial sovereignty. You can freeze a stablecoin, like you can freeze an address to a stablecoin. And not to mention, like if you're already going through those hoops, right, to take a stablecoin into self-custody, I bet you the vast majority of people are not, and they're leaving it on exchange. Like, why not do the same for Bitcoin, right? Exactly. Someone put it in the chart, in the chat. Hard Hodl said, no excuse for permissionless money. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Anyways, the article goes on to say, thank you, Opti. Argentina is one of the top 2 countries in the world, along with Russia, for shipments of US dollar banknotes, according to a 2012 Federal Reserve paper. The New York Federal Reserve Press Office declined to provide more recent data. Savers in the South American nation hold some $200 billion in US currency, a figure only surpassed by the United States and Russia. Amid the Bitcoin rally, Argentines are now shedding some of their dollar savings and initiating investment options that allow them for the first time in years to save themselves from inflation. Subsequently, there was a 5-fold jump in reports of cryptocurrency scams in February, according to Bitcoin Argentina, the country's main non-governmental organization in the sector. Quote, Argentines' desperation to make it to the end of the month and not lose their savings leads them to make hasty decisions without measuring the risks, transforming them into easy prey for scammers. All right. A lot to unpack there, but I got to say, the part where I was just disappointed the most, I mean, look, this is great. This is a step in the right direction. Clearly, I think it has to do with the rally. You know, that's what it says. And people, you know, people just tend to buy in when the price of Bitcoin is pumping. Everyone's just like, oh my God, I got to buy now. Let's ignore the thing when it was over $1,000 for many years. You know, let's just jump in now, I guess, right? It's funny how the human brain works, right? Anyways, it goes on to say, stablecoin is more pragmatic and many times used for transactional purposes as a vehicle to make payments abroad. I mean, I'll pass that on to you, Adam. Like, I think Bitcoin is by far the easiest thing to transact with people globally. Like, it, you can trust it after one I know you should wait 3 confirmations, but after one confirmation, like, that thing ain't going back, right? So,
man, like, especially like traveling abroad, it is way easier because all of us should already have Bitcoin in self-custody. You don't have to change from currency to currency. When I was in Costa Rica at the Freedom Festival there, which was awesome, and if they do it again, I highly recommend everybody come to Costa Rica and check out the Freedom Festival. I didn't have to do anything. Like, I just grabbed my phone and I had my Bitcoin wallet and my Lightning wallet on my phone, and it was all good. And I didn't have to like mess around with, except for, I guess I did in theory, like I did for driving on the toll roads. I think the toll roads and the Starbucks were the only places that I had to spend. I spent USD and not the local currency. And I think that's a testament to how bad money remittance is. Everyone just kind of uses USD. I mean, look at even Argentines. That actually made me think too of this funny world where the US dollar now has less business because of Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin is just literally a competitor for the US dollar, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, if you're spending Bitcoin, it is a lot less work, a lot safer and requires a lot less trust to use Bitcoin rather than swapping your Bitcoin into local fiat or into a like whatever stablecoin du jour is. Not to mention, like, we all know what the C in USDC stands for, right? It's like C is for Coinbase. That is Coinbase's stable coins. That's where the money sits. Our buddy didn't say that he wasn't fractionally reserving the C in USDC, although I think that is a bit tighter and more regulated. So I won't I'm not going to come on here and spread FUD, although I kind of just did. But I think at the end of the day, we have to realize that stable coins, just because it's on a blockchain, doesn't mean that it's truly decentralized like what the Bitcoin blockchain is. The original perfect blockchain is decentralized. It is trustless. It is not required to, you can audit it. Look at that, thumbs up. You can audit it, but, and that's what makes it awesome, but you don't need to in order to transact on it. Every other blockchain is just somebody else's database. It is not decentralized, and we are not able in most blockchains cases to audit it. And so why is your money better there compared to like in the fiat system? It's exposed to fiat inflation. It's exposed to worse because you can't undo transactions in most cases on the blockchain, at least with the bank. When the bank screws up, they, for the most part, undo that screw up and they give you your money back. What happens if Ethereum screws up? What happens if Solana screws up? Are they going to actually reverse that transaction and give you that money back? Probably not. Like, it is just the worst of the worst. And yeah, there are certain niche use cases where sending a stable coin, like if the other side, really doesn't want any volatility, or there's going to be there are certain use cases to exist there. In my opinion, the use case is way, 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 way less than how much stable coins are actually used. Stable coins, they incentivized high time preference day trading, and I personally don't see them as being useful. I do see spending Bitcoin as the future, and that's where it's going to be. Like, why go through the hoops? Like, just create value, sell the value, store the value, spend the value. That's it. Like, why make it more complex than that? It doesn't need to be more complex than that.
100%. 100%. It's so simple. People make it complicated. That was my dad joke, by the way, for the super chat. Thomas Hara, appreciate it. We want more dad jokes. There's your dad joke. Yeah, I mean, beautifully said. I'm becoming a fan of Adam's monologues, man. We'll have
yeah,
something.
I'm feeling kind of ranty today.
we'll have something for you guys soon. Wink, wink. All right, Opti, what's your take on this? You not being a dad, do you want to drop a joke?
I'm not a comedian, so I don't have anything on the top of mind right now, but yeah, maybe soon. Anyways, honestly, like I like the evolution and the progression we've seen in Argentina. We've been covering this story for, I don't know, now a couple of months. And I know when we first were talking about this story, we were kind of wondering how come the Argentinians are going into a stable coin. And, Peter McCormick did a very great documentary on this idea of how there was just still so much friction. And kind of to what Adam said, people are very turned off by quote unquote the volatility of Bitcoin, and they get lulled to sleep by the idea of again, quote unquote stable coin, because they're only stable until they're not. And I just finished reading The Bitcoin Dollar by my friend Mark Goodwin. Highly recommend every one of you guys read it. And it keeps popping up in my head that I'm not here for dollarizing or digitalizing the dollar. Like, we're here for exactly what Adam just said, to create values, store your value in Bitcoin, and then spend that value in Bitcoin into the things that you want. But I also understand that humans, it takes a long time for them to learn things. And I've been saying for a while that we're seeing that there is like a natural progression towards people becoming Bitcoiners and self-custodying their Bitcoin. And hey, if your currency is absolute trash, like the Argentinian currency is, then of course you're going to move towards a stronger currency, which for the average person is the dollar. And then once they get used to the dollar, and most people are already kind of used to the dollar, and Argentina is pretty much, dollarized at this point, whether it's on the black market or what do they call it? The blue market. people understand that, yeah, if my local currency is trashed and I move into a stronger currency, which for most people is a dollar, and then they wake up to the idea that, oh, wait, there's an even stronger currency, which the end game is obviously Bitcoin. So there's steps towards people taking self-custody. And I mean, at least the progression here is that people are starting to wake up that, yeah, I want to hold Bitcoin and not a stable coin. And again, the classic trope of correlation does not mean causation, but it's very interesting that since Milei has become president, that we're seeing a mass inflow into Bitcoin. So it just goes to show that the signal is spreading and people are waking up to the idea that, oh, maybe I want to hold some Bitcoin over digital dollars. And hey, Bloomberg, poor Bloomberg, we can't hold them to the same journalistic standards that us Bitcoiners hold ourselves to. So you can very obviously see that they are going to kind of say good things about stable coins. They don't want to basically be like, yeah, Bitcoin's the solution here. Stable coins do have a huge market in South America. And it's kind of probably because it is hard for them to actually just get Bitcoin directly. And so they have to make steps towards getting to Bitcoin. And again, this is all just kind of going through just how early we are in this whole Bitcoin ecosystem. And the fact that they are coming down and trying to clamp on and off ramps. And so there are obstacles and there are loopholes that people have to jump over to even get into Bitcoin, especially when anyone that knows anything understands that they're trying to control the currency. So they're not going to make it easy for you to get into Bitcoin. But I love that we have another testing ground for the same idea that we see in Nigeria. Nigeria jumped a CBDC out there. No one wants it. They're going into Bitcoin. Argentina, we saw that they're moving towards stable coins. And now we're seeing that like, oh, wait, we don't want stable coins. We want Bitcoin. So the signal is spreading and people are waking up that, yeah, we're not here for digital dollars. Like digital dollars is just recreating the fiat system again with new fancy buzzwords. And the real end goal is Bitcoin. So I love that we're seeing a progression from very bad local currencies towards Bitcoin. And this is going to take time. And this is why we show up every single day. This is why we tell you guys every single day to have these conversations with your friends and family so they understand that the end game is Bitcoin and not a stable coin. It's not a digital dollar. It's not your local currency, or it's not going into a stronger currency. It's going into the strongest money that man has ever seen, which is Bitcoin.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. I mean, look, I'm going to borrow from, our friends over at Bitcoin Well. I'm going to say, that what you guys say, enable independence. I think that's the key, right? And if you don't push self-custody by default, because this is an educational thing all around the world. Like the reason I believe like in the developing world that people are seeking tethers versus Bitcoin is I think it's a generational thing. And I think it's an educational thing. I think self-custody isn't more widely used because it's an educational thing. I think a lot of people, fall into the convenience trap. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to pass that on to you guys. Are you guys enabling independence? Are you guys pushing, sovereignty? Are you guys pushing freedom all over the world? Because, and I heard Thomas, I'm not going to lie, Thomas, even though you sent us a super chat, I was quite disappointed when you said you were withdrawing your funds from Coinbase. Look, guys, if you fall into the convenience trap, if you're pushing kind of, these exchanges that don't properly incentivize self-custody or don't have self-custody by default, better said, I'm not going to say it's as bad, but, self-custody is the revolution, right? It is the revolution. That's what's actually going to change things worldwide is millions upon millions of individuals holding unconfiscatable wealth outside the grasp of government, right? That's really what's going to change things. And it's not because the government's going to want to change. It's that it's going to force the government to change, right? Or at least that's what we hope, right? So anyways, I want to get your thoughts on that, Adam, and then we'll get on to the culture.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think we talked about it last time I was on the show. It's like when you are on a mission to enable independence, which we are, and I truly hope that our audience listening right now is also at least keen to help enable independence. Like we just need the help, man. I think that building for a community with hyper aligned core values eliminates the ability to fall down the bad ways. And it also forces us to listen in like what is important. Like I'm seeing some chat here, why doesn't Coinbase enable this? Swan's doing that. Like, yeah, I fully agree with all that. And it's good for me and us as a team to be able to see what do people care about? How do we build a better platform that you are comfortable referring your grandma to, referring your aunt, but then most importantly, like onboarding your kids into, because our habits follow our kids. And like I'm a dad of 4. I've got kids age 7 and younger. Without question, what you do is what will show your kids what to do. If you are working hard, you're in the gym, you're eating properly, and you're a generally kind individual, your kids will be that way. If you tell them work hard and then you sit on the couch and do nothing for 6 hours a day, your kids are going to be fat, lazy slobs. If you tell your kids take self-custody and then you use a platform that enables other people, like even goes as far as to like not disincentivize them from taking self-custody by giving them fancy rewards for opting into certain things, like that's bad. That's teaching your kids that it's okay to be complacent. It's okay to take the generational wealth that they have the, like it's our generation and the next generation, and that's it, that have the opportunity to truly decouple money and state. Like we got 20, 25 years left, and that's it. And the way that we raise our children, the way that we tell the next generation how to stack corn is what will be the future of money. And if we're comfortable with, your great, great, great granddaughter's Bitcoin being stacked in like some, closed loop garbage fiat system, then like, great, don't use a self-custody platform. But if you want to push platforms to be better, then you got to like have your voice be heard, use those platforms, and do it for the kids, man. I sound like Greg Foss up here. Like do it for the kids. Make sure that the kids and the future generations are able to act responsibly, because this is the worst self-custody will ever be. This is the hardest it will ever be. And it's only because you guys are using and pushing self-custody platforms to the next level. And I think that's so important.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the culture. Let's talk more about self-custody by default. And Adam was telling me he gave a interesting presentation at a Bitcoin meetup, and want to hear about that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the...
I want to be in Opti's nightstand. That's where
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Bunch of Krista toys in there.
Oh, man. All right, what is an Opti's nightstand? That's the question.
I plead the fifth.
The Daily Culture.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Kaboom, the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. You can scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Kaboom Racks Telegram marketplace, where you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent, and you could also sell your mining equipment with them. Connect with their domestic and international customers. Check their Telegram marketplace. Check out Kaboom Racks today. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the culture. Let's widen it up, because Adam was showing us his multicam before the show. So
want to see this? You guys ready? I don't think I think I just turned the ready for this. Whoa. What's up?
A real influencer. Real influencing.
Like, yeah, this is like a proper studio in here. Like this is leveling up so much. This is like, wow. I'm just so stoked to have two. I got like, it's not set up, but I can put one up there if I'm like tinkering with my hands a little bit. I'm going full content creator.
Full influencer on us. Full influencer.
All
right. Well, let's start with, we have a lot on the docket today, but let's continue the conversation of self-custody. Nico was saying just a minute ago, you've been telling us about this presentation you've done on self-custody. So Adam and everyone in the chat's like, this guy gets it. So why is self-custody important? And then you can kind of angle that into why Bitcoin is self-custody by default.
Yeah. Okay. And like, this is a self-custody talk. This is not intended to be a Bitcoin talk. I'm going to like note my bias off the top. Like, obviously I care about Bitcoin where I think the only self-custody, like automatic self-custody platform in the States, we're one of two in Canada. Like, there's a bias there, but if we don't all agree that self-custody is the most important thing, then I this will surely convince you. So off the top, with that said, as promised, if you sign up with Drop Coinbase or you tweet me Drop Coinbase, I'll add 500 points to your account. You can sign up for the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest and like whatever, have some extra stuff and be a part of a self-custody platform. But the platform or the presentation that I gave in Vancouver was based around three things. And it was kind of the three risks that you have when you don't have Bitcoin in self-custody. The first is like nefarious platforms, right? We've seen that with Mt. Gox. We saw it with Quadriga here in Canada. If you guys don't know about the Quadriga story in Canada, it is absolutely shocking. Dude went like, basically, this guy was like Sam Bankman-Fried Jr. and did all the stuff that Sam Bankman-Fried did, but like just for himself, like he was just gambling on platforms. And then, obviously FTX. So that's like step one, which is the big problem there, right? When you give your money to somebody else, you give them the ability to spend the money however they want. We had Mark Karpeles, who many people probably don't know who he is. He was the OG like Bitcoin exchange bad guy. Mt. Gox was the only Bitcoin exchange forever from inception until I think 2014 or 2013. That was where like, I had to buy some of my first Bitcoin, was like super sketchy, wire money to like a Russian bank and get it credited onto Mt. Gox like months later and then be able to buy Bitcoin. And then he got hacked and went belly up. 2018, Quadriga, same thing. All of Canada is using basically this. There's one platform in Canada. Everyone's using it. Dude is like sending money to Binance and FOMOing into ICO scams, lost it all, and then like allegedly died in India, taking all the Bitcoin with him. And then we've got SBF, who everybody watching probably knows about. So it's like, that's problem number one. But to be fair, that problem is probably going away as we get more eyes on the space, more regulation on the space. Like you would really, really hope the FTX was the peak, crypto exchange guy scam. That's like, that should never be able to happen again. It can functionally happen again, but you'd hope that regulations will at least, do whatever regulation can to prevent that. But then there's step two, which is the honeypot. And that's where the problems are kind of moving to, which is like the Coinbase problem. Like 90% of, what did we just say? There was like 500,000 Bitcoins sitting in Coinbase. So you've got all of the ETFs Bitcoins sitting in Coinbase, and then all of the retail Bitcoins sitting in Coinbase. Like if you're a hacker and you want to try and steal some Bitcoins, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to corrupt my self-custody where you're going to get one individual's like total Bitcoins? Or are you going to try and infiltrate the the honeypot that is a Coinbase holding literally hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin? Not to mention the opportunity for centralized attacks inside of Coinbase. So this is quite popular, not so much in banking, but in cell phones. If anyone has heard of a SIM swap, the only reason SIM swaps are possible is because of inside jobs. And so the concept is you have a cell phone number tied to a SIM, somebody inside, somebody as part of like whatever, Verizon, or in Canada, like Bell or Telus or Rogers or like whatever, somebody's able to change the SIM. And once that SIM gets changed, all of the data that was going to that SIM card goes to the different one. This is only possible because of, men inside that are bad actors, that are part of bad organizations that do things. So what's stopping, the group that has the keys inside Coinbase from just being bad people? There's eventually going to become a time where the money at hand is so life-changing, is so like talk about country founding wealth, like is so insane. Human beings are just broken. The human condition is a sinful and blasphemous condition. And do we trust that Coinbase is only employing humans without that condition, without the ability, or with the ability to push back on that temptation of like, ooh, if me and Jimmy and Johnny, who we eat sandwiches with every single day, we could each take 100 Bitcoin. Like, come on, there's hundreds of thousands in here. That's no problem. Well, then what? Right? Who repays that? Like, this is a massive problem. That's problem number two. And then problem number three, like, guys, sitting right here, 6102, 1933. Roosevelt's like, okay, we're in the middle of the dirty 30s. He probably didn't call it that because it wasn't called that then. But he's like, economic growth is stalled. How do we get people spending money, right? Are we hearing that same language right now? Like economic growth, we need more growth. We got to kickstart the economy. You know, we're going to stimulus, like blah, blah, blah. In the 30s, they were like, everyone has too much savings. There are people that are just hoarding the value they create with their time and waiting to spend it in the future. They're not spending enough. What should we do? And the brilliance at hand was, let's take the gold, give them a fair value for it, and then that will incentivize spending. And it did. And for a short period of time, the economy was on cocaine and the economy was working, and, you know, it pulled everyone out of the dirty 30s. But at what cost? Because what happened was they gave everyone like $20 per ounce of gold, okay? Which at the time in those dollars was $400 per the price, like in today's dollars. So gold right now, I think, is trading over like $2,000. So already there's a loss there. But then even worse, the next year, 12 months later, gold was magically trading at over $35 an ounce. Like the government on day one devalued the money that they traded for the gold. And if you think I'm kidding, like just look it up. Like read the order. It was punishable by $10,000 fines in 1933. $10,000 is $250,000 equivalents today. So like the real world example of this happening is the Biden administration coming in being like, guys, there's too much saving going on. The economy needs to grow. What should we do? They're like, well, everyone's hodling these Bitcoins. We need to get the Bitcoins out of the hands of these savers and put spending dollars into there. It's like, okay, great. Let's give them all $80,000 per Bitcoin. That's a little bit of a premium. All these high time preference idiots are going to take that and they're going to go inject that $80,000 into there. It's like, wow, why would they do that? It's like, because we'll punish them with a $250,000 fine if we don't. Like that was the ultimatum the majority of people had. It is absolutely catastrophic, the lengths at which the government can, and in my opinion, will go to, you know, for the greater good, right? Let's shut down the economy for the greater good. Let's force experimental medicines for the greater good. Like we've seen this happen time and time again. It will continue to happen. And the worst possible case is that it happens to your value. If it happens to your value, you're hooped, you're done, because there's nothing else you can do. You are then forced to work until the day you die if you cannot store your value properly. So I think it was a bit longer. There's a bit more examples, some fun personal stories. I've got a ton of, we were talking off air, like I've got a ton of hilarious personal stories just of like government overreach. I'm like famously debanked here in Canada. So there was a bunch of like cool anecdotes that I was able to share with the crowd. But the coolest part of it was after I had 5 people who didn't know each other, like independently, come up and say, hey, I'd heard about self-custody. I was like, you know, pretty sold on it, but this changed my life. I'm going home right now to take self-custody of my coins, my generational wealth. And I was like, that like struck me like quite emotionally. Like that was very, very inspiring that like, guys, we have to talk more. We have to spread the mission of self-custody. They knew it was important. They said that, but they didn't maybe think about how important. They weren't thinking about, you know, their bloodline. They weren't thinking about the generational wealth that it can be. And that's because they had their coins. It was convenient. It's like, I got Bitcoin exposure. I did it. I ended the Fed. It's like, no, you didn't. You end the Fed when they can't 6102 you. You end the Fed when they don't have the power over your value. If you have to ask somebody else's permission, that somebody has 2 opportunities. The opportunity to make you ask permission and do whatever they want you to do, but then you're also exposed to their backbone. You know, will they say no to the government at B? You know, and personally, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to have a government agent saying like, give me Nico's coins. Like frankly, Nico, I love you, but like if somebody stole my daughter and said, give me Nico's coins or this little girl disappears, like bye to your coins, right? Like my daughter's life trumps your coins. I'm sorry, every single day. And we have, you know, out of obligation to our users, but also to like our families and the future of this incredible asset class, we have removed that scenario from the equation.
You created the incentive structure, right?
Bingo.
like that's really like the key, and that's really that's fascinating. And clearly you guys really thought about that line, enable independence, because it's, maybe I'm reading too into it, but that's essentially what you're doing when you create a self custody by default platform, because it's exactly what you said. Why? Of course you will. But that's what you do, right? When you create a self custody platform, in the traditional sense, you'd be like, why would you do that? Like from a business perspective, because it's a lot more painful. It's low time preference, right? It's a lot easier to create the kind of convenience, but it's a lot more difficult, I would say, from an educational standpoint. And it's just the right thing to do from the revolutions aspect, right? The separation of money and state, right? And again, with Adam, with your daughter in that example, it's a great example because look, no one is better than their incentives at the end of the day. I don't care who you are, but she's like, no one is better than their incentives. And if you create an incentive structure where it's not that you're going to do it every day, it's not that Brian Armstrong, his night table is reliable, 364 days out of the year, but it only just takes one day, for someone to knock on his door and say, like, hand me over those seed words in your night table next to a picture of Christine Lagarde.
Dude, and he could think it's all totally fine until it's just not. Like, nobody needs disaster protection until disaster has struck. And like, here we get into the craziness of like, oh, we got to bunker down and we got to prepare for the worst and blah, blah, blah. And there's probably a balance there. Honestly, taking self-custody of your Bitcoin is the lowest possible like disaster preparation that you can possibly do. Like if you even think about wearing a seatbelt when you drive and have car insurance, you should self-custody your Bitcoin. Those are the same things. It's like, I'm probably not going to crash my car, but if I did, I don't want to go through the windshield. So I'm just gonna like click this thing in. It's like, takes a little bit of time. I had to learn how it worked, but it's like, it's very worth it for me to not go through the windshield in the slim chance that I crash my car. I think there's a greater chance that we see one of the three disasters that I kind of explained, either, the theft, the honeypot, or the 6102. Those three things are like historically have happened. I would say it is quite likely it will happen in the future. Just put your seatbelt on, self-custody your Bitcoin. Like we need to get this message out there. We need to normalize self-custody, and it's be like, we need to look at, how we like look at people right now when like people are like jogging with masks on outside, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, who do you think you are? Who are you protecting? It's like when you have your coins sitting on someone else's platform, it's got to be that same look. It's got to be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you part of this charade? Like, stop this. That's what I think.
Beautifully said. That comment from Winekiss, which is absolutely hilarious. Why can't Brian Armstrong be like Adam?
No beard.
Oh man. Okay. Opti, what's your take on all this, brother?
I mean, we say it all the time here. We say it all the time here, and we've had a lot of hype around the Bitcoin ETFs and stuff because it's like the latest evolution of the Bitcoin space. But we say it probably every single day, like self-custody is the revolution. We've seen, as Adam was saying, he gave us 3 great examples, and we've seen this play out for basically as long as humans have had history, that if you give someone the ability to store your money, it's no longer your money and they're going to do whatever they want with it. That's like the whole basis of why we tell you guys to take Bitcoin into custody, because look, you can be the most moral, principled person ever, but like if your money's just storing with someone, there's always going to be that allure, that possibility of them fractionally reserving your Bitcoin, of you, or rather using your money in a way that you didn't give them the permission to do. This is literally how we got into fiat money in the first place. We saw this happen with the Roman Empire. We saw this happen with gold. Like now we're just in a new evolution of this where we have a better money. We have the strongest money ever. It is Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoiners, being adversarial thinkers, we're all wondering, like, okay, how do we make sure that we are not just building ourselves a gilded cage with Bitcoin and recreating the same problems? Because look, I know a lot of us Bitcoiners, we do run with the meme of like Bitcoin has already won, but we still have to stay vigilant out there because like we're not out of the woods yet. We haven't necessarily created a system where this isn't a possibility. Like it may be, you know, a very small chance, but it's a non-zero possibility that your Bitcoin can be taken from you if you aren't taking your Bitcoin into custody. And that's why we tell you guys every single day, self-custody is the revolution, because if everyone is holding their own keys to their Bitcoin, then there is no possibility of this happening. And then we build that peer-to-peer circular economy that all of us Bitcoiners want to happen. But we're not out of the woods yet. You know, we still have to develop this system. We still have to build the layer 2s out there. Or else, like, for better or worse, like we can build a system that pretty much recreates the fiat system, but just on quote unquote the Bitcoin network. And this is what all of us Bitcoiners are looking for and trying to avoid, and being vigilant that we don't just end up recreating the system again, because we know humans are no better than our incentives. And look, I jokingly say this, I think I'm a moral principled person, but if you guys gave me your Bitcoin and you didn't touch it for, I don't know, 10 years, I'm sure that greed will take hold. I'm like, look, I can just take like a little bit of this Bitcoin.
Coming out of the nightstand, baby.
Like exactly. Look, send your Bitcoin to my nightstand, and after a certain while, I can almost convince you that I will use some of your Bitcoin and try to recreate it. Like embezzling has been a part of humanity for a long time, and just because we're like Bitcoiners,
a public address on his nightstand with the private keys inside the drawer. It's like, deposit to my nightstand, please.
Guys, this is why we don't trust banks in the first place. You know, we saw this happen in 2008. Like, and humans aren't better than their incentives, and this is why we talk about taking your Bitcoin into custody, so you completely take that opportunity off the table. And hence why automatic self-custody is such an important thing out there. Is like, look, I want you to get Bitcoin, but I don't want to hold your Bitcoin. How do we make this happen? How do we make sure that the transition and the friction is minimized so that you own your Bitcoin and you control your own wealth? Like, it really... Another Turan. I'm going to full screen myself here. Another rant. It really blows my mind that the status quo of humanity right now is trusting someone else with your wealth. It absolutely blows my mind that the average people think that giving a bank their money is the safest way to store your value. Like it almost makes me insane when I think about this. Is like everyone out here thinks that their money is in a safety deposit box in a bank and they're not doing crazy, nefarious financial trickery with it. And it's like, no, you literally gave your money to someone else. They can do whatever they have. What's the meme? You know, possession is 9/10 of the law. Well, in Bitcoin, possession is 10/10 of the law. Like, he who owns the keys controls your Bitcoin. It's literally that simple. And actually, Adam, I do want to ask you, because we see the meme right now of, Bitcoin ETFs being a gateway drug to self-custody. But it's also like, Bitcoin ETFs is paper Bitcoin. So what's your thoughts on this idea of people going to ETFs and then eventually going into Bitcoin?
Yeah, man, I think that ETFs are the gateway drug into self-custody. The problem with gateway drugs is they just cause a lot of heroin addicts. And I think like gateway drugs are bad. like no one's ever like, oh yeah, I started partying with marijuana and then then I got hooked on heroin, and I'm really happy that I had that gateway drug. Like, and I know that that's a hyperbolic progression. Don't come at me about like how weed is a gateway to like smack, but like gateway drugs are not good. Gateway drugs are the problem. And if we don't normalize, opioids, and we don't normalize like this party culture of drug doing, then we don't have the homeless and drug problem that we have. And so if we don't normalize ETFs, we won't have the problem that exists here. I think if we keep this example running, the only reason we do drugs is to feel better, right? That's it, period. That's the reason drugs exist. High time preference dopamine. Well, the only reason we self-custody is to be free. When you own an ETF, you are not free. When you own Bitcoin in self-custody, you are. And so, like, if you want a quick high time preference dopamine, do some cocaine. If you want long lasting dopamine, like get up early, work hard, eat steak, and drink lots of water. Like, so if you want high time preference fiat gains from Bitcoin, then buy the ETF. If you want generational wealth and freedom for you and your family, then buy Bitcoin and self custody at bitcoinwealth.com. Like, it's not that hard, in my opinion. It's like, we need to, unless your Bitcoin is in your custody, it's not real. Unless you bought Bitcoin and saw a TX ID come out of the blockchain because of it, it's not real. Anything other than that is fake. And like, do we want fake Bitcoin? Like, we saw how fake dopamine is ruining society. Fake Bitcoin will be 25 times worse than that on an order of magnitude. Let's like be better.
Amen. Amen to that.
Okay, let's pivot a little bit to the giveaways that we've been doing the last couple of days. Actually, but before we do this, I want to acknowledge everyone out there. You guys are the real MVPs because the Bitcoin jackpot has doubled since we announced this.
But
love to see it.
But those are rookie numbers. We got to pump those numbers up.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers.
bitcoinwealth.com/contest.
Yeah.
Sign up.
Okay,
to the
so
contest right now.
Just FYI, it just hit 3 million sats. I'm looking at a live number. 3.0.
Oh, okay. It's not live yet. Okay.
No, that doesn't update automatically, unfortunately. 3.034410 is the amount of sats sitting in the jackpot. And on the halving, we're going to have our script figure out who's going to take home 69% of that jackpot. I'm stoked.
Okay, so back to last week's. Are we announcing the stamp seed winners live? Or you already got them? Or
so I tweeted last week before we drew which blocks would be determined. Remember, if you scroll down a little bit, Opti, you can audit the script that chooses the contestants. This is like, there's no funny business here. Right there, audit the script. So I ran through. I took 5 blocks. We had 5 people that were, how many people entered on that day. Time, with the block hash, which is obviously random. And voila. And so I've got 5 usernames here. I'm going to just read them out, and I'll be in touch with you later today on who won. So first username, I'm not going to show the usernames because, just for obvious reasons. But first one is Andrew J. Second one is Mark123. Third one is Dennis Leclerc C. Third one is Tavon, and fourth one is Tavon, and fifth one is Randy Bowman. And so those are the usernames, the well tags of all the people. Congrats, you guys! You got some free seed plates. You can go stamp your value into the future. That's super dope. So nice work. Just as a reminder, Bitcoin Jackpot Contest is still live. We're going to be giving away other random prizes later on down the road, but sign up at bitcoinwealth.com/contest. And let's go, guys. Obviously, I'm super lucky to be able to come on here and chat with you guys. But if you can't, I'm looking at myself. I'm like a little flush in the face. I'm so fired up about self-custody that whether you use Bitcoin well, or if you're in the States, you literally can't use any other platform that is automatic self-custody because they just don't exist. But if you are in Canada, whether you're using Bitcoin well or using Bull, at the end of the day, use a platform that aligns with your values. And if your values are oh, I'm here, I'm good, I'm looking for paper gains, then whatever, Bitcoin well is probably not for you, and that's okay. If your values are Bitcoin is freedom money, Bitcoin exists to give me and my family independence based on the value of our efforts, then Bitcoin well is for you. And I want to work for you. I want to work as hard as I possibly can to give you and your family the best possible platform to use. And so please, tell me what's working, tell me what's not. We had some great feedback, hey, the time delay between funding the fiat and being able to receive Bitcoin too long. We're fixing that. It's going to be fixed soon. You're going to be able to smash buy and get that TX ID. We're just making the platform in such a way that we want the community, the hardcore Bitcoin community, to be able to use it easily and feel good about onboarding their friends. So that's the pitch. I don't want to shell anymore. But
love
I love you guys. And
Absolutely.
All right,
love it.
Adam, there is a few questions in the chat that I think we should clear up. First of all, when does the contest end? We say it all the time, but again, refreshing for the people.
yeah, so the contest is going to go until the halving. So block 840,000 is going to trigger the end of the contest, not a time. This is a Bitcoin contest. We are ending in blocks. So how the jackpot works, it's split 3 ways: 69%, obviously, 21%, obviously, and then what's left is 10%. So 69% goes to the grand prize. This is drawn out of block 840,002. So the hash of that block will determine the winner of all of the entrants. We then have the secondary prize, which is 21%, and that is 840,001. So block 8400001 is going to determine that winner. And then the last 10% goes to a project on Geyser. There's currently a poll on the Bitcoin Well Twitter at the Bitcoin Well. You can vote for one of the 3 projects that we've chosen to donate this the rest of the jackpot to. So even if you don't win, you can feel really good about funding one of the 3 projects on Geyser. So trying to be like pretty community focused. And contest ends at the halving. So enter now. You can enter as many times as you want. You enter with your Bitcoin Well points. You get points by signing up with Drop Coinbase. If you're listening to the show, you get points by tweeting me, Drop Coinbase right now at Adam O'Brien _. And you get points by signing up, making purchases, referring your friends, all the rest of it.
Beautiful.
Love it. Okay, and the last one to clear up for everyone, where is Bitcoin Well available? And then they're wondering, are you thinking of expanding?
I say that at the beginning of every episode.
We're in Canada and the US.
All 50 states?
Yeah, all 50 states. That's relatively new. We launched in the States like 8-9 months ago, but we only got all 50 states in February. So super stoked on that. So every single province in Canada, every single states in the US, buy Bitcoin, goes automatically to self-custody. I saw someone in the chat asking about selling. You're going to be able to sell Bitcoin directly from self-custody. So the workflow will be so simple. It's going to be sell Bitcoin. Which bank do you want the money to go into? This bank, please. Here's your QR code. And then you're going to send Bitcoin and receive fiat right in that bank. And so now there's a debate here. There's a question here. Well, why would I sell my Bitcoin? I'm a hardcore maxi. I don't ever sell. Yes, you do. Only hardcore maxis sell, because only hardcore maxis are all in. And if you are all in, you need to sell to live, unless you plan on not consuming anything ever again. So I do believe that selling Bitcoin is part of creating a hyper Bitcoinized society, because if all you're doing is buying, you're just holding the rest of your value in fiat. If you have dry powder, it means you don't have enough Bitcoin. If you have dry powder today, you didn't stack enough Bitcoin yesterday. And so giving our customers the ability to sell from self-custody in a super easy and convenient way is the number one, that's part of it. It's not number one maybe, but it's part of the ecosystem. It's part of creating an environment that's like not a bank, Brian, but it's like the modern banking ecosystem that gives our users the ability to use their money in a way that's from self-custody.
Amen.
Spend, don't sell. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But you can't pay a mortgage or rent in Bitcoin. The majority of people can't pay a mortgage. That's where we're going to. That's where we're going to. And in Canada, we're going to bring this to the States eventually. You can pay your bills in Bitcoin. You can literally take your Amex card, tap, 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 and then pay that off at the end of the month with Bitcoin. That's awesome. But you just cannot. Canada and the US, North America, the payments infrastructure is so incestual and bad, but also convenient. You're not walking into Wendy's to buy a Baconator with Bitcoin anytime soon in Canada. You can barely do that in El Salvador, and it's legal tender. The execs are not looking at this with any type of reality anytime soon. And so for the time being, we, Bitcoin Well, and other incredible companies need to make ways, need to find products and invent workflows and pathways for money to move so that you can spend your Bitcoin even if the merchant doesn't accept. And that's the next phase. So phase 1, Bitcoin accessibility, we're getting there pretty good. Phase 2, make it easy on and off directly from self-custody. We're in that phase. And then the next phase, the most exciting phase, hyper Bitcoinization? How do you, as the user, have the ability to have all of your money in self-custody, but still have full access to the real world and being able to spend that money? That's the holy grail.
Amen to that. Amen to that. We got one more question from Thomas. Thomas says, how long does the identity verification take? It's pretty effing fast, man.
Couple minutes.
Yeah.
120 to 180 seconds is kind of our benchmark. If you're like, you do have to verify your identity. So if you're like taking bad pictures, it'll be longer. If there's like, things that are wrong with the verification, like you're a scammer, then it will also take a little bit longer. If we think, if the robots that do the verification think you're a scammer, then it will take longer. But like our support team, so we had a big meeting 3 weeks ago, and I welcomed the team to Operation Toro. And Operation Toro is an absolute maniacal urgency, all hands on deck, 24/7. This is going to be insane, while we onboard as many people as possible. And so, like, if there's problems, reach out to the team. There is someone there, like, all the time. And if you want to, like, follow me on Twitter, like, hit me up on Twitter. I am so active. I'm living, sleeping, and eating this Operation Toro season that we're in. And we want to make sure that you are onboarded to the safest possible Bitcoin platform in the world. That is Bitcoin Well. And we want to make sure that happens very fast.
Boom, boom. All right, Thomas, you literally have no excuses, bro. I caught you.
Thomas, man.
Yeah, dude, just stop taking on the Zoomer out there.
I caught you in the beginning admitting that you were using Coinbase. Transition to self-custody by default, Thomas. You could do it. You could do it. Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen. Holy cow. All right. We're at 1,743 live viewers on Twitter, about 350 on YouTube, and about 674 on Rumble. Shout out to our Rumble audience. I love Rumble, man. Rumble makes me feel good. Anyways, guys, if you are enjoying the show, smash that like button. We really, really appreciate it. Helps convince the algos that we're doing something right. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to push this peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share Bitcoin content, share Bitcoin culture. Just get the message out there. I also want to thank our very special guest, the CEO and founder of Bitcoin Well, the first Bitcoin on-ramp in the United States to have self-custody by default on the heart. Hey! Wow. All right, guys, that was our show. That's happened to me before. Camera dies. All right, guys, if you enjoyed the show, do. I already said it. Smash the like button. We'll see you tomorrow for a brand new episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. And back next week for the IRL. And stay tuned because Rustin's going to come in hot with some Simply Bitcoin originals as well. Love you guys. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.
Episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.